This debate is part of intensive course called Debating Contemporary Issues in English. We have about 25 students, together with 5 Korean students from Ewha Women's University. And the course is taught by Professor Kipp, who has been coaching Ewha's debate team, as well as teaching English Ewha Women's University. And without further delay, I would like to pass the microphone to Professor Kipp to introduce debaters in the debate.
Hello, everybody. That's loud. All right, I'm Peter Kipp from Ewha, and I know most of you are already in the class, so sorry about your very quick lunch. Sorry to the rest of you who came to watch the debate. We were practicing so hard that we ran a little bit over time, and so the debate is a bit delayed, but these people probably, they might even do better because suddenly they felt like we have to prepare really quickly, and then that gets them all excited, and maybe they'll even debate better than if they had more time. It's possible. Anyway, I'd like to introduce the debaters, but before I do that, I'd also like to explain a little bit about the procedure. So what we'll do, we'll have the debate. It seems to go on and off, actually, which is odd. Okay. We'll have the debate, which will take about an hour. Each speaker will speak for 7 minutes, and they will be debating on this issue. This House believes the government should increase support for popular culture, increase support for exports of popular culture to other countries. After they finish debating, we want you in the audience to vote for a winning team, and we'd also like you to vote for a best speaker. So the procedure is very simple. On this piece of paper that I will give you, like it says in pink up at the top, you just need to write 2 things. You need to write the name of the best team, and then you need to write the name of the person who was the best speaker. And their names are all written there in yellow, in roughly the right place behind where they're sitting. So you'll also get a chance to see who they are when I introduce them each individually. So I'm just going to give you some of the, I'm going to pass the papers around, and please pass them back to other people so that everybody gets one ballot paper. Thank you. So anyway, while the ballot papers are going around, let me introduce the speakers in this debate. The first speaker in the debate, the team is opening government. And when we say government in this case, we mean the party in power in the government, the party that is making a proposal. So the opening government team will be represented by the Prime Minister, Kim, who is a debater at Ewha University. She is a sophomore majoring in political science and international relations. Her partner is from Kyushu University ESS, Inoue. Inoue is also a sophomore, and I don't know your major. What is it? Majoring in economics. So it sounds like a very powerful team. Politics and economics is what this motion is all about. Okay, right. So the first speaker will be the Prime Minister, but the second speaker will not be her partner because the opposition team has a chance to answer after the first speech. So the second speaker in the debate will actually be on the opening opposition team. It will be the leader of opposition, who is Keita Chiba from Kyushu University ESS, sophomore, majoring in agriculture. And then after Yojin speaks, Keita will speak. After Keita speaks, Yohei will speak. Answering Yohei and continuing arguments for the opposition will be the deputy leader of opposition, Jang An, from Ewha University, sophomore, majoring in business. Okay. After these two teams finish, then their partner teams will be debating. These teams are supposed to support the same side, but they also try to do even better than their partner team. So we have in closing government, the member of government, Jae-rin Kim from Ewha University. Also a sophomore majoring in politics and international relations. After that, from the closing opposition, the member of opposition, Kenji Tomita. President of the debating part of the English-speaking society. Oh, you're not president anymore? Ex-president. Oh, president of the whole? Oh, Ewha is the president of debating? Oh, okay, wow. Okay. He's, I don't know, what's above the president? Anyway, the president of the US. And sophomore, majoring in, junior, majoring in law major. Okay. Oh. Okay. The final speaker for government, the whip speaker, will be Yo Nomura. Majoring in literature, my major. And then the last speaker in the debate from Ewha University, Bo-min Kim. Politics and international relations, yes? Oh, no?
Social science.
Majoring in social science, sorry. Okay, right. So, once more applause for all 8 speakers. And then I will be chairing the debate, calling the speakers, and also keeping time. Speeches are 7 minutes. After 1 minute, that signal will mean that the other teams can ask points of information. At 6 minutes, I will do this again. Don't be surprised. It means that no more points of information. It's called protected time. The speaker cannot be interrupted. At 7 minutes, this will signal that the speech finishes. So if they say anything after 7 minutes that's really great, forget it. Doesn't count. It's cheating. They're not really allowed extra time. They're supposed to finish in 7 minutes, anything important. They can still talk for a couple minutes just to finish gracefully, to maybe finish their sentence and add a final comment, but they're not allowed to introduce any new material after 7 minutes. And then at the end of the debate, we'll give them some more applause. Everyone can vote. After the debate finishes also, you will have a chance to ask questions to the debaters. So if there's anything you wondered, like, why did you say that? Or, when the other team said that, like, what were you thinking? Why didn't you answer that? Or something like that. Anyway, you have a chance to ask the debaters any questions you like. Or you can ask them personal questions, like, you know, you and your partner, like, did you argue against each other when you were preparing or something? Or you can ask them, like, what's your favorite pop star from Japan? Or anything you want, right? You can ask them any questions you like after the debate's done. Okay, I think without further ado, we can get ready for the debate. Oh wait, that's not that one. That's that one. The microphones seem a little inconsistent to me, but anyway. This one, I don't think it'll fit. This one should be okay. Oh, it does? Oh, okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I call this House to order. We've already introduced the speakers and the motion, so without further ado, I call the Prime Minister to open this debate.
Development that we see in the 21st century, we are really honored to participate in international friendship debate. Along with that, we have seen that because we have faced the great development in 21st century, we have faced that there are so diverse ideas, thoughts, and really nice combination of sets that we have think, and it is and along with that, we can access to many ideas and many thoughts and many commodities that we can face in 21st century. And we have said that because along with this, it is an honor for the opening government to argue that the idea that we are proud to encourage or increase the support for the experts of the pop culture. So, in order to say that we are so proud to argue that, we are going to preview as such. Firstly, we're going to say why we're dealing with pop culture at the very first level, and secondly, we're going to preview why the government should encourage or increase the support for the exports. And after my speech, my partner is going to come up and to say that why in the economical sense we are going to face much more benefits coming from passing this motion. But before getting about any kind of argument, we're going to firstly clarify the motion at the very first place. We believe that the definition itself is quite straightforward, and in order to just briefly mention about the definition, that when it comes to the pop culture, we're going to say that the popular culture that goes along with the trend in the contemporary days, and that is going to be included about movies, dramas, and songs that we face in daily lives. So, very first level, we're going to preview at the very first place that why the pop culture is the main idea in today's debate. Because pop culture, as we have mentioned and defined in the earlier sense, that the pop culture is the one that actually represents the ideas or interests that the contemporary society has. Because the culture itself is a reflection upon what people behave and what people think, that we believe that even though there are a lot of influx coming from the various sources that we have in contemporary days, what becomes really popular is something that goes along with the satisfaction of people's thirst of having such things. And we believe because that the popular culture can actually represent what people wants to have in these days, we believe that because the consumption that has been mentioned, that has been brought up by the people by having pop culture itself is so significant in order to look at the society when we're living in. So we believe because the context goes along and the context itself is a reaction of the contemporary days, we see that it is important to have the popular culture. Then, why the government should encourage or increase the support for exports is because when it comes to the government, the very basic and most intrinsic value of having a government itself is that in terms of the political sense, that the government wants to have much more power and exert much more influence to another. And we believe that in terms of the government, they are not only pertaining to having much more power, exerting much more power to their citizens, but also when it comes to in the country level, we see that they want to exert their influences to another country. And we believe that in that sense, government is definitely willing to increase their support for exports of the pop culture is because pop culture being one source of nice diplomatic methods, we believe that it is going to increase their influences to other countries. For example, when it comes to the bloom of the Japanese dramas in Korea, we can tell that Japanese dramas is becoming the diplomatic source that Korean people is going to be interested in getting to know about Japan, such as learning Japanese and such as learning about the culture or history that the Japan had until now. So we have seen that it is going to have much more international relations level. We believe that even though we do not directly connect with certain countries, these kind of popular culture contents is going to be an influential method to encourage people to understand about my country and advertising about my country. And we believe that it's going to be the same case with having a celebrity as an honorary ambassador, such as Arasi representing Japan and Toho Shingi representing Korea. And we believe that because this kind of example has been already made, it is not something different from the idea of encouraging or increasing the support of exporting popular culture, because we have seen that they're going to become a representative of that country, and if they gain much more popularity in other foreign countries, it is going to be directly linked to the idea that the Japan becoming influential to Koreans film. And even though it is, even if it is going to be a small number, we have seen that it is going to be influential as well. And moving on, why do we believe that there is going to be an exclusive benefit? My partner is going to come up and say that there's going to be economic benefits, such as like having a tourism itself. But not only limited to that, we have seen no, thank you. We believe that if the government is actively encouraging the support for the exports of the pop culture, we believe that it is going to have no hierarchy between the values that the culture has. Because in the past we have seen that there are some kind of prestigious cultures, such as the cultures that has been consumed by elites, and we believe that those kind of things are made the hierarchies between the cultures. But if the government is actually encouraging the support for the export of pop culture, we have seen that it is going to reduce any kinds of the barriers between the cultures, and it is going to encourage people to actively participate to enlarge or encourage people to participate in having much more popular culture. So we have seen it is going to be much more influential, and it's going to reduce any kind of barriers that has been made within the countries. And even if and along with that, we have seen that there is going to be the additional benefits coming from increasing support for exports of pop culture, becoming the diplomatic sources that is going to be influential to other countries. So we have proved you why the popular culture should be the one that we are debating upon on today's debate, and we have proved you why the government should actively encourage supports for the exports of the culture, because they can exert their power to another country, and they can, in that sense, we can have much more powerful government to another country. So we have seen it is going to be much more benefits coming from benefits if we are passing this motion. And that is the reason why we are really proud to say that the government should actively encourage support for exports of pop culture. Thank you.
The Prime Minister spoke for exactly 7 minutes. Thank you very much, Madam Prime Minister. We move to the opposition, and we call the opposition leader, Keita Chiba.
Hello everyone in this house. So we think so nowadays school it is okay if they are not government should not increase support export of pop culture. So first let me repeat what previous speaker has said. Previous speaker has said so pop culture's merit, but about the international friendship or the but I can't understand government stance. So we think why government need to support so nowadays school free economic market, some the other Japan animation or comic is by themselves their own go to the abroad, and so in popular in the another country, so it not need to government support, we think, and also the government role the other more important government role there, we think. So I'll explain our argument. So let me move our argument. So first is government role, and second is what is pop culture, and third is government bias. I'll explain one by one. So firstly, so say about government role. So nowadays school, so some countries there are a lot of poor people, or some people lose job, so unemployment, so cannot live, or some people, many country, so there are many elderly people and need to social welfare. So it needs to too much money to support such social weaker people. So government should help such people firstly. But so nowadays the government lack of money to such people. But so after plan, so taking this motion, so support pop culture needs needs money, giving money. So it is not so government role. Of course, such is so some not so bad case, but so most important thing is help social weaker. So it's so support pop culture is not government role, we think. And also so on economic point, some government side said will economic point about more increased economic, but we think about pop culture. Pop culture is short term, so not continue. So every year, so changes dramatically. So it is not short term economic point, but so if so focus economic point, we think so the another focus point. So in Japan, for example, car industry or the other, so machinery. So it is so long term continue. So forever it is Japan for Japan. So long continue. So forever for long term. So it is improve the Japan so economy, and so it is more and more good than pop culture on economic point. So government so it needs should take government take this motion. And so let me move on. Second argument. Second argument is what is pop culture? Pop culture is made by citizens' freedom idea, freedom expression needs. So and if so such pop culture make some freedom idea making pop culture, and some the other people, so it is wonderful way of fun, so making money, and such pop culture more increased by citizens paying money, and their cycle to by citizens their cycle, and so and also so if they are not government support, so they are by themselves their own free economic markets, so they can bigger and bigger, and so they move to the another countries, so they are more and more spread their pop culture. So we think pop culture should admit the citizens' freedom idea, and also they can have power to by themselves spread the another country. So we think, and so third point, so about government bias. So government after government chooses which pop culture is better or not. So their government has said so pop culture is a lot of things, so a lot of kind of pop culture. So government should choose which pop culture is best, or which pop culture should neglect. So no support, no money, but the other is should more money. So it is we think so they are biased to government. So it is biased. So they are unfair situation. So now they are fair. So many people freedomly. So they thinking about pop culture, but after the government choices, and such pop culture is focused. Such pop culture, government choices pop culture only increasing more and more bigger, but the other no support pop culture will decreasing. So it is government bias. So it is choices by government will. So government thinking which is better or not. So only government bias. So it is should not. So for the not culture. So culture not freedom expression only by government control. Control by government control they are improved pop culture. It is not so citizens will we think, and also so we think after plan, so government only chooses so best pop culture, and so some people should take more support. So such pop culture make for government aim. Government want to be so government aim for make for such pop culture. It is so not citizens will. So but not citizens will, and but so. Now that's good. They can not unfair situations. They are most important for citizens. Citizens support their pop culture, and by themselves, citizens themselves making their country's pop culture, and so such pop culture bigger and bigger, and so spread the other countries and make friendship. So it is the most important point. So we think after France there are government bias, only government bias, and government take which is better or not. So government should not. So government should admit all pop culture, all citizens idea. But after France such neglect one part of pop culture, but the other is admit. So it is so biased. So it is so harmful situation. For this reason, we strongly oppose this motion. Thank you for listening.
The Leader of Opposition spoke for 7 minutes, 6 seconds. We thank him very much for his speech. We now move back to the opening government. We call the Deputy Prime Minister, Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen. As my partner said, the popular culture is very important. So, for the reasons, I support this motion. First, let me refute what the previous speaker has said. The previous speaker said about the short term. The soft industry is very short term, so it is not effective. Effective plan, but it's not true. For example, certainly one TV program is ends shortly, but another program will start, and people love the favorite singer or character forever. So the wave is continues for a long time. So to support the pop culture is so effective. No, thank you. And second. Okay. no, thank you. And sorry. Okay. And the previous speaker said about the social welfare, but social welfare is certainly important, but the foreign countries' reputation is also important because we acknowledge this as a huge influential country. And the government's goal is to improve the voice of other countries. This plan is very important. Yeah.
They think governance assets of international friendship are also important, but they think such international friendship so big, but so social welfare, so lack of poor or lose job is tangible. So most in serious program we think.
I explained the economical effect in my argument. Okay. Okay. Next, let me move on to my argument. I explain about the economical effect. After taking this plan, first the soft industry increased the profit of profit of the contents industry, and secondly, how the industry increase the profit of other industry, for example, electric appliance and so on. The government make a good impression on the countries. So the reputation is higher. And for example, these days Korean government actively supports pop culture. So in Japan, many Japanese people watch the Korean TV drama, for example, like the Winter Sonata, and many people like the Korean singer like Kara and Big Bang and so on. And no thank you. So and in the Southeast Asia and other countries, K-pop is highly popular. So Korean government succeeded in the improvement of impression, and moreover, Samsung could obtain the hugest profit these days because of the increase of the proceeds. For example, thank you. they sold the many television or smartphone and large household appliance and etc. That's because people who are good impression to Korea bought main Korean products. Moreover, please imagine if your favorite singer or anime character advertise products, surely you want to buy them. So therefore, after taking this plan, not only the software industry but also hard industry can obtain much more benefits. And service industry can have more profit if you like the foreign pop culture. And ordinary people think they want to deepen the pop culture and the other culture and history and etc. So they will learn the country's language and they will go to the home of the pop culture. So many industry can obtain the profit. So for the reason I support this motion.
The Deputy Prime Minister spoke for 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Thank you very much for your speech, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister. We now move to the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Jang-man.
Mr. Speaker, we believe the government should not increase support for exports of pop culture. Firstly, we want to talk about the government's role, and secondly, we want to talk about the characteristic of pop culture, and lastly, we will talk about the benefits when we're not passing this motion. Firstly, the government is should be exist for the people, the citizens, and the government give the tax from the citizens, and they should use the tax carefully and efficiently. However, let's think about the supports characteristic. To support something is to pay some money or to do effort for something. But however, if we do support for exports of pop culture, when do we no, thank you. When do we do when the exports of pop cultures failure? Before I move on, I want to talk about. Do you know IU? Many of you don't know IU. Who IU is? Yes, IU is the famous singer, but she have failed to be popular in Japan. Like this, every export of pop culture is not successful. So if the government increase the support for exports of pop culture, then there must be some expenses for support. However, the supported exports of pop culture is where the government will take that expenses, and the government's the damage of government's financial expenses can be burden for citizens also. So it actually can be harmful to our society. And they never mentioned how they can choose what pop culture will support. They never mentioned what pop culture will be supported. Basically, the most of the officials in government are middle-aged people. However, the main consumers of pop cultures are teenagers and 20s. Then how can they understand what pop culture is important or not? What pop cultures are popular in that other countries? So it's possible to do this motion in status quo. So we just want to remain the status quo. So the government should not increase support for exports of pop cultures. And let's think of let's move on to our second argument. It's about the pop culture. As the Prime Minister said, the pop culture is unpredictable and it can change very, very fast. So, and very trendy. So, and besides, the quality of K-pop culture, pop culture is not guaranteed. But however, as a government, the main part of the nation, the government should do something very carefully and do something to certain things. However, pop culture is not certain thing, so we don't guarantee this. And even although without this support, in the status quo, pop cultures are fully exported and exported to other culture. Yes.
The reason why government wants to increase the support for the exports of pop culture is because they want to invest on certain contents which can actually increase the reputation in the international level. And we believe that in that sense it's going to be much more beneficial, right?
I will talk about how I will talk to you later, and pop cultures are mainly transported by the mass media and with viral transmission. like YouTube. Without the support in YouTube, we can fully deliver our pop cultures to other countries. So we don't need to that support. And also, maybe it can be some diplomatic beneficial. However, we think the K-pop pop culture's diplomatic beneficial are smaller than the harms when we pass this motion, because by the some pop cultures we can have good images to that country. However, if the big accident can also more big influential to the citizens emotion. So although we have good images, some big accidents appeared that people can change their mind easily. So we think that's not that beneficial in our society. And if we, as the Ewha said, if we do not pass this motion, we can use these expenses. We can use this money to other sections, so it can be more beneficial to our society. Thank you for. Thank you.
The Deputy Leader of Opposition spoke for 7 minutes, 11 seconds. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Opposition Leader. This concludes the first two teams in this debate, opening government and opening opposition. We're now moving to closing government. We call the member committee.
The opening half has only explained about the economical aspect of what would happen when we actually have this motion passed. However, we have never heard from the opening opposition about why exclusively of the pop culture, because all they have explained what implies to all kinds of businesses as well, such as what they have mentioned about employment and whatnot. So in today's debate, we would like to shift the topic for the exclusiveness of the pop culture about when we export this kind of items and what are the exclusive benefits that we can have from this policy. Directly going on to the rebuttals. Firstly, they have questioned us about why should the government go into the free economic market. Well, our answer is very clear. That we have to, this policy is actually making the barrier easier for other business to understand. The reason why Science is so famous in Korea is because he's the only case that he was able to be successful from the YouTube. The previous speaker just have mentioned about the YouTube, about how SNS has so much influence. However, we see that is the only case why it is so famous, and there is still a barrier to the extent that it is very difficult to break. However, if we have this policy passed, what would happen is that more skilled singers would enter into this business, broadening the business of pop culture. And also, in the future, we say that this would lower the, this would encourage more business to enter into the international market, since the barrier is lowered and they have more incentive to go into the market. Secondly, we would like to have rebuttals on the employment. Well, it is a very big argument we have done, because if you lose a job, you can just find another job. And if one industry is destroyed, we say that if we make this industry to happen of exporting the pop culture, then other jobs would also be created. So their argument about employment was not effective at all. Lastly, they have explained that not every pop culture becomes successful. No, thank you. And gave the example of Korean singer called IU. Well, we say that the reason was that firstly, the corporation that IU belongs to is so small, so she cannot do any kind of advertisement. And secondly, if we do consider the fact that not every pop culture is successful, we can also see from other business as well that not every business succeeds when they go out into this international market. And we think that the same kind of thing happens to the pop culture. However, the difference that we have between the pop culture and the other businesses is this exclusive, that it is more likely to have, no thank you, more likely to earn the profit, which I will explain in my arguments. So in today's debate, I would like to talk about the principle of the experts. In the leader of the opposition speech, he has mentioned that it is time for government to focus on the welfare, not exporting the pop culture. However, we say it is even better to focus on the pop culture because we say this is a pre-investment, that it is more likely to succeed and more likely to have more funds in the future, which should also be beneficial for the people since we can then use those monies for welfare a lot more. No, thank you. We would like to talk about 3 things today about what do we export. No, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the competitiveness of this pop culture. We say that this pop culture is a very good item for the government because it is very distinct and unique. In all countries, already the pop culture has grew a lot, and what is happening right now is they're repeating the same rhythms and the same lyrics and the same stories of love songs. However, it is very unique when we see about other countries' pop culture coming in because they are different from the countries of our own business. So we say that this is a very good item which is very unique. Also, we say that this is easy to consume for everyone. Anyone can enjoy about consuming this pop culture since it is not like expensive technology and it is something that all people can enjoy since it deals with stuff like music, books, that everyone has likeness into. Lastly, we say this provides a very breakthrough for the business market as well because this provides a momentum for people to know and learn. What they have rebutted to the opening was that they have mentioned that it is a very short term. However, we still think that it is okay to be short term because during the short term, people get to know about Psy, they get to know about Korea, they try to learn more from it, and we think that this kind of momentum is very much important to have in our business because this can also lead to the next business as well. Today we have learned about Harry Potter, about how the next book was able to success. We think the same situation happened to the pop culture, that if they know about SNSD, they also know about other songs as well of SNSD, have interest into it. Secondly, we would like to mention about the political power, that it can be used as a form of diplomacy. For example, between these 3 countries of Korea, Japan, and China, what happens is that if the relation is bad between these countries, they use this pop culture as a methodology to solve different problems. It is distinct from what the opening side has said about the diplomacy because what we're talking about is that people use this pop culture whether to stop exporting for the purpose to gain political benefits. And we say this is very much important in the current society where we don't fight with armies anymore, but we fight with cultural activities. We now have a silent word that people use sanctions in order to benefit with people's life because what we don't mean by sanction is preventing what people like. So for example, if Korea has bad relationship with Japan and Korea does sanction on Japan, what will happen is people who like Korean pop culture would have protests and make the relationship better. And we say this kind of diplomacy and term of diplomacy using is very much important. Lastly, we talk about money, that it is very much profit-oriented business, that we do not need big factories or refreshing the new ingredients, but we are using this human capital to have huge items. For example, if you look at the concerts of what would happen is that it is 30,000 yen per seat, which is a lot of money because there are a lot of people in one concert hall. And we say this kind of very much profit-oriented business would lead to success of governmental economic success as well. So due to these reasons, we are very proud to propose.
The The member of government spoke for 7 minutes, 6 seconds. So thank you very much to the member of government. And now opening, which sounds strange, opening for the closing half. But anyway, great. Representing the closing opposition, we call the member of opposition Inoue.
Test.
Is that an argument?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen in this house. First of all, what makes the pop culture as a pop culture is that pop culture is based on the popularity in diverse, which means that pop culture is not for public sector, it's for private sector. We think that if the government once intervene the pop culture, it is not pop culture anymore. So for these reasons, we are very proud to oppose. First of all, I would like to rebut what member of government mentioned. She mentioned that the pop culture is more likely to earn the profit, but it is not true. Compared to manufacture or finance, the pop culture, the benefit from the pop culture is very small and less profitable. So we say it is not true. And she also mentioned that as a pre-investment, we need to incentivize the pop culture. But as we think that the pop culture is like a short-term benefit, it's not a long-term. Is there any person who think that the modern investment in 10 years ago is still famous in Japan? The pop culture is very short-term profit. It's not a long-term. So the pre-investment is a waste of money, we see. As for the political power, she mentioned that the pop culture, as for the relations, international image or political relations, that we should incentivize the pop culture in order to make the country's image better, in order to create a better relation. But Mr. Speaker, for example, many people regard Russia as a militant communist, even 20 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Even they promote a new Russia image. Soft power does not have the big power, does not have big influence. It cannot create a better image towards our country. So it is not true. Okay, moving on to my argument, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today we have two points. The first point is about sensationalism and standardization will break the originality of pop culture and supporting opening opposition argument. The second, we will mention about the hard power is more important than the soft power. I will explain one by one. The first week, as opening opposition say that if government will, once government will intervene in the pop culture, it can bring the government bias. I want to add one more point that originally the pop culture created in the diversity in the pop culture has been developed in the private sector, not in the public sector. It is about pop culture needs. But after taking this proposal, the government will standardize what the pop culture is, or what the pop culture is, what the pop culture is not the pop culture, and the government will promote the commercialization of the pop culture. The standardization will bring the government bias and government propaganda. It's not government case. So it's not based on the popularity. And moreover, commercialization will bring the consumer's friend. If the consumer's friend becomes important, the consumer originality of the pop culture will be destroyed after taking this plan. Therefore, it's not pop culture anymore, we believe. The secondly, let's move on to my next argument as an extension. The hard power is more important than the soft power as a nation.
Before you go on,
okay.
if the bias is a problem, you can just change the mechanism that does not let the government decide, but just let them to fund.
Mr. Speaker, if once government found, government will provide once government found, it's not the culture creator will must follow government's condition. So therefore, it's not alternative. Okay. Moving on to next extension. The hard power is more important than soft power. The hard power, compared to soft power, hard power is much more important as a nation. The hard power affect directly, have a direct impact to our life. For example, military or diplomatic relation or economic. If the hard power policy fails, our life will be in danger. But on the other hand, soft power includes the culture or media. It never reflects our life directly. It has only indirect effect. And so we say the hard power is more important than soft power. So for example, as a nation to have a strong effect in the international community. So for example, Russia have less soft power, less culture policy, but they have huge existence in the international community because they have huge military power and nuke power, and due to the Soviet communism. So it can be applied to Germany as well. Their culture, their pop culture is not so famous, but they have huge economic power. So for these reasons, we say that the hard power is more important than the soft power. Thank you very much.
The member of opposition spoke for 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Thank you very much to the member of opposition. We now call the final speaker for government, the whip, Ryo Namura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello everyone in this house. I want to do in my talking about first explain why our side is better, and first of all I will do rebuttal what the previous speaker said, and next I will summarize this debate and explain this crash points of this debate. And so first I'd like to rebut what the previous speaker said. He said what we should put on emphasize what makes pop culture as pop culture. If the government interfere pop culture, it is no more pop culture. But we didn't mean that government interfere pop culture, but help exporting pop culture to another country. So, and as my partner said in question, government won't decide what they support, but they will only help exporting. Sorry. And the previous speaker mentioned hard power, but hard power doesn't matter because it's better than we don't use hard power. But pop culture can make a strong tie between countries, soft power, so we can live peacefully because of pop culture. Sorry. So let me summarize this debate. There are three crush points in this debate. First, whether pop culture is short-term or not. And second point is whether government should interfere pop culture or not. And third point is about employment. First, I want to say explain why our side is better in these 3 points. First, the opposition side said pop culture is short-term. Short-term, and we can't get a lot of money compared with another industry like machine, technology or something. But exporting pop culture is not only for gaining money, but also making strong ties between countries and get a reputation and diplomatic power. And as my partner said, pop culture can, as our side said, pop culture can get a lot of benefit because we have to get employment related to industry of pop culture, and we can get money and we can grow ties between countries. And that it can be a short term, but it can be a momentum to begin to have interest in another country. That is very important thing. Yes?
So pop culture is also short term, and so succeed or accept in the other country is like gamble. But so manufacture industry, so long term first, so it is superiority, so other country will take another,
okay.
It's less.
Yes, in the industry like making machines or computers are necessary, but pop culture is not always necessary. But there are certainly some people who interested in other culture, and such kind of people can see YouTube or something, other culture, and begin to learn more about other country. So it is not necessary for all people, but I'm sure there are some people who are interested in pop cultures. Sorry. And second point is whether government should interfere with pop culture or not. Opposition side said pop culture will be biased by government because they help export it. But why is so? The opposition side said to explain more. But as my partner said, government won't decide. Decide what they will support, and the opposition side said there are other ways to use money, not for pop culture, but for poor people or people with no employment. But we can benefit. We can get benefit from pop culture, and such kind of money can be contributed to our society. And I want you to keep this in mind that helping exporting doesn't necessarily mean that government interfere in pop culture. And third point is about employment and money. Yes.
What citizens can directly benefit from the export of pop culture? Like Arashi, although Arashi are popular in Korea, we don't get anything.
Okay, Arashi is popular in Korea. I happy to hear that. But you know Arashi, and you might have interested in Arashi, and it can be connected with Japanese culture, right? And I think directly you can't get benefit from pop culture, but it can be benefit to our country. Because you might have interest in Japan, and you may come to Japan because of Arashi. So maybe tourism can get a lot of money from such kind of interest. So something is government about employment. As I told you, we can create a lot of money and employment because of pop culture. Because if another country people have interest in another country, they want to learn more, and they may come to such country to get some original goods, learn traditional things, or they just want to come to our country. And as a result, they can get money from such tourists. So we, in these 3 points, we are better than geopolitical science. Thank you.
The whip speaker spoke for 7 minutes 42 seconds, so we thank him for his enthusiastic speech. And we call the final speaker of this debate, the opposition whip, Kipp.
As the last speaker of this debate, I am very proud to speak as a last speaker, and it was really nice meeting to you. And so before I move on to my fancy words, I would like to do my job as a whip speaker. So, if you look into the current situation, we share lots of cultures in such as K-pop or J-pop. So the culture industry is well functioning itself in the private sector. So therefore, considering the fact that the pop culture is made by the mass who are the people, so we the opposition side think there is no need for the government to intervene and change the status quo. So, before I move on to the clashes, I would like to rebuttal some points of my previous speaker. So my previous speakers talked like there is a strong tie and they can gain a reputation by supporting the pop culture, but initially in the process of selecting which to export, we think that the government's taste is intervened because the conditions are actually initially made in the government. So when the people are making the pop culture itself, then they will stick to the line to the conditions of the government which are already made. So the originality of the culture will actually collapse. And also the previous speaker mentioned about the contribution, they can actually contribute to the society by helping the poor. So thank you, ma'am, helping the poor. Since in the progress of exporting the pop culture, but we don't think so because the pop culture is already made product by the mass media according to their taste. So people who are already benefiting from the pop culture will all gain more benefit from exporting the pop culture rather than helping the poor or helping the society. So moving on to the clashes, I found the 3 clashes in this debate. First, the role of the government. So the government side mentioned that the role of the government is to have a power towards another country and how they can use it as a diplomatic method and how this can alleviate the relationship of the nations. But in the opposition side, we think the initial role of the government is to take care of our own citizens, and rather than making the other foreigners to understand our culture, we should actually keep our culture which is our culture, rather than making or abusing the culture as according to their taste of the government or the consumers who are the foreigners. So Also, culture is like an indirect sector, and this only affects indirectly. But this is not like if like in the case of the urban situations, like if we face the national disaster, the method of this like indirect solution is not actually urgent, but what we have to stick to is like the hard power itself, because like that is what we really need in the urban situations. So, no, thank you. And secondly, the second question was like whether it is appropriate to deal with the pop culture. The government slide mentioned that the pop culture is a representation of the contemporary society and like how people behave, what people behave or what people think. But like the opposition side thing is that pop culture, as I already mentioned, is made by the mass and like should be left at the private sector, because like we're not saying the pop culture is whether important or not, but like, we're saying that in the current situation, pop culture being performed in the private sector is being done greatly, and the government has to take care more on the hard power, since this is the one actually really needed in the reality when the nation is in danger. And lastly, the third point was like whether this is actually giving the economic benefits. Whether this is giving the economic benefit, because like the government slide mentioned that exporting pop cultures can actually give us the economic benefit. Yes, we do agree that this can give the economic benefit, but like as the opposition slide mentioned, that it is uncertain, like the success of this exporting is uncertain, and along with the uncertainty, the closing what we side are saying is that culture itself can't be regarded as the culture itself, because like it will be distorted by the government officials' taste and the consumer states, which are the foreigners' taste, foreigners' taste, the originality of the cultural class, and which this can actually bring the sensationalism. So the government side were actually saying that like they want to influence the others to know about our culture, but like then they talked about economic benefit, which is like a contradiction, because like if we want to gain an economic benefit, then we have to actually like stick to their taste rather than supporting our own culture. So as I already told, we can actually gain sensationalism might occur, and despite like sensationalism as a culture being exaggerated, like in order to gain the popularity. Therefore, like for these reasons, we are very proud to oppose.
The whip speaker spoke for 5 minutes 44 seconds. So we thank her very much for her speech. Let's also give applause to all the debaters again. Please congratulate each other on a hard-fought match. Okay, so everyone in the audience, everybody gets one vote. Write it on your ballot. Vote for the best team, vote for the best.
Very much. I shouldn't waste too much time, but two things to note. One is the importance of you can learn in debate, and two of the things just mentioned now I think are very important. One is POI, point of information, asking a question or making a comment on the spot. And that's exactly what Japanese learners of English need, I think. Many of the Japanese learners can make a good presentation because they can prepare it. But on the spot, if you ask questions, it's often difficult for our students to on-the-spot respond or ask questions. That's one thing you should practice. Cross-examination, question and answer period after the presentation, or point of view information in parliamentary debate. A second thing is open your mind to different ideas. That's also important in debate. You can learn many things from debate, especially in the international debate. So try participating in those debates and open up your minds. Now, without further delay, I'd like to announce the winners of the debate. We had a very close vote. We collected altogether 32 votes, but 3 were invalid because it just said opposition or just black. Out of 29, the lowest is 6, the highest is 9 votes, so very close. The top winner of the international debate goes to closing government. Closing government, congratulations. Sorry, I don't have any physical prize, but again, congratulations. And only 1 point run-up, second place, is opening opposition. Now, the best speaker. Top speaker got 10 votes, and the second speaker got 7. So again, it's close. Top speaker award goes to Chairman Kim. Congratulations. And the second best goes to Bomin Kim. Okay, this closes 2014 International Friendship Debate in English. Thank you very much.